Welcome to the latest edition of the BRSN Insider. Josh Pound, happy to be joined by women's head soccer coach Lincoln Roblee. And coach, to say it's been an eventful season would be an understatement, but I think that regardless of what our win-loss record is, and it is a good win-loss percentage for you guys so far this season, but I think if we had met in August and said that towards the end of October we were almost finished with a very successful season, we probably would have been very happy with that result. So just take us back how are you and the team feeling about, the win-loss record is a bonus at this point, but you've been able to successfully, for the most part, navigate your way through a fall season in the height of a global pandemic.
Yeah. We are 7-1-1, and obviously we'd like to be 9-0, but one of the things we talked about this year at the very first thing is gratitude and being thankful that we can all be at school here together and play as a team in the sport we love. So there's some extra things we have to do as far as spacing and wearing a mask. And obviously everyone's had a few games that have been, well, at the beginning of the year, we had like 6 or 7 games just canceled at the beginning of the year so we'd start even later. So there's a number of things that maybe we don't have, and some games have to be rescheduled. But we're very grateful that what we've had. And what's interesting, I was just talking to someone recently about how this is when often a lot of teams are just wrapping up their seasons. It's the very end of October. Now for us, we've always gone deep into November, early December, just with postseason. But it feels like right now we're just in mid-season because of the number of games we played. So even though the weather outside is what it is, and Halloween is just right around the corner, which usually wraps up the regular season, I feel like we're just kind of in mid-season form. So the best is still ahead of us, but very grateful for what we've had so far.
Well, you alluded to it. Obviously, the first curveball thrown at you guys this season was a reduction in the number of games. You successfully managed to get to the point where you got into a conference season, moved into the conference schedule, have navigated that to a 7-1-1. The next curveball thrown was that the conference postseason tournament was delayed by a week. And then most recently, last week, the next curveball thrown at you was that now the conference tournament will be played in the spring. So how has that been? I mean, what's the mindset of, we still have business to take care of, but that business being taken care of then is kind of, there's a delayed gratification for it, because at the end of the day, you still have to complete the season, 3 or 4 months down the road.
No, there's a lot. It's uncharted territory right now for us. So in the past, we've always had, somewhat of a competitive spring that we're trying to get better. We take the spring seriously in the past, where we're all trying to improve individually. We're all trying to find certain positions, but we're gearing up towards the next fall with very little very little at stake in the spring. Now we've completely changed that to now everything is at stake in the spring. We've got the conference tournament. We've got the national tournament. Everyone has asked, how are we going to lead up to this? Are we going to have exhibition games? Are there going to be allowed to have regular season games that we missed prior to the season before conference games were just canceled? So there's a lot of kind of unknown. People want to know, when are we going to be practicing in the spring? So when they make their schedules. I don't have all the answers yet. We've never done this before. I know what we've done in the spring in the past, but now we've got something very different. We're going to put ourselves in position to succeed. We'll have our winter training is going to be almost more like our summer training, et cetera, because we're going to be trying to ramp up. So now we usually try and say we want to be better all the time, and usually be better by the end of the season for postseason. Now, all of a sudden, that's been elongated into April and May. So it's brand new, but we're just excited for it. I don't have all the answers right now. I don't have all our schedules. I don't have those things. We've really been just kind of focused in on whatever our next game is. And I'm trying, I was telling somebody that I'm not really just trying to win like one game at a time. I want to focus on what we need to do to get better, but we want to make sure that we don't get in a rut. If we just get in like a game by game rut, or if we just focus only about just one game, then we're kind of compromising a style and a skill set that we can get better at and grow. So there might be moments in the game, whether it be the conditions, the weather, or an injury or something where we might have to adjust. We want to make sure that we're just kind of growing as a team and our style and our understanding, so we can constantly get better. It's what we've done for years, and now we just have to kind of stretch it out to the spring.
Well, and for the most part, your squad's been able to avoid not playing in that normal routine of a midweek and a weekend, a midweek and a weekend, but you are coming off most recently not having a weekend contest, had to go up to Graceland for a midweek this week. You did get a positive result. What's that been like to kind of know? I mean, at least those decisions have been made far enough ahead that it's not like a morning of when you're already planning for a match that gets postponed. But you talk about that ebb and flow of the season. Was it maybe kind of nice to have almost that bye where you could kind of maybe ramp down practice a little bit to kind of give everybody a restart for the final push here over the last 3 matches?
It is good sometimes to just kind of reset. And I just want to make it clear, we got a positive result. That was a victory. That was a win. Nowadays, when you hear you got a positive result, you're like, oh, no, I'm sorry. We got up to Graceland, our positive result was a victory. So that
right.
Graceland was quite well for a victory. Actually, we've had 3 weekends where we've been off for one reason or another. We've actually treated each one as if we had a game. So we actually had inter-squad games each time. And maybe one of those times we could have had a reset button and just given everybody some time off. But because we did lose those first, 6 or 7 games at the very beginning of the season, we kind of need our preseason was a little bit different. So we kind of need almost every weekend to kind of sharpen up and learn more about ourselves and to continue to progress. So it is different, though. It's different from the game, the grind when you travel. It's feels like a whole weekend. You've got some things. So when we have a weekend, we just had basically kind of like an inter-squad scrimmage where we get to see some things, work on some things. But it's nice and packaged really nice for us. So it's not too bad.
Well, your final 3 matches of the season now will be Mount Mercy, Missouri Valley, and Clark. You're sitting a half game out of first place right now, essentially tied for first place. The half game comes from the fact that the schedule overlaps. Somebody's played one more game than you have, all that kind of stuff. But really the destiny for your guys this season is in your own hands. We talked about before we came on, Clark is sitting there kind of lurking in that number 3 spot below Baker and yourself, but you have them on your schedule so that you have the opportunity to make them stay behind you in the standing. So just talk about the mindset of the team, knowing that, you guys are used to controlling your own destiny as far as a program, but just talk about where the team's at right now in that mentality.
The mentality of the team is outstanding. They're really some very positive, achieving attitudes. And it may be really surprising to people, but we know we just have to win to be able to win championships and what have you, that we can't just lose and tie a bunch of games and something happens. So we just try and work as hard as we can. I have talked to a couple players on the team just going, well, if we went out, worst case scenario, we tie for the conference championship. I've said it a few times, but it's not like something where I get around and preach to the team and talk about that. And most of the time, what we just want to do is do what our position requires it, do the skills right, execute on restarts, do some things a little bit better. There was something that we hadn't been doing well in some previous games in which we were turning the ball over and we were creating some counterattacks. So we addressed it before our last game. Is like, this area of the field, we're going to do something different. And the person on the ball is going to be doing something. Somebody off the ball is going to do something different. And sure enough, we did something that created us to score goals basically off that. It's not like we're going to win a game. It's like, how are we going to win the games? What are the details? So I think in soccer, it's just full of these things where people just say, we need to do this. Well, how are we going to do this? How are we going to? So once we figure out the how to, then it's a matter of execution. And then we win the games, which lead to the championships. So that's what we're trying to do, really kind of just dot the I's and cross the T's. And then however we're in good position. We're in good position right now. So we just want to play better because every opponent has got quality. Every opponent has experienced players. And we know if we don't play well, then we will get a bad result. So.
Well, and the final thing here, as we'll wrap things up here, a lot of fresh faces for you and your squad this year, and having been 8 or 9 games in or 9 matches into the season now, a lot of those fresh faces have been a lot of the key contributors as far as offensively going for you this year. How do you feel like those players have settled in, and how has that mix continued to evolve throughout the season?
Well, our freshman class has a lot of talent, but they also have a lot of character. So they're all very smart, and they all have good wit and humor to them. So they blend in really well, and so that team camaraderie is strong. And once they get on the field, they play like they've been around for a number of years. Paulina Carlos has 6 goals. Rachel Beffa has 3 goals. Annie Hogue has 2 goals. And we've got great contribution on the defensive side as well. So a lot of people have been making an impact at a young age. And it's exciting to see. And it's what every team wants to succeed. You want to have, from freshman to senior class, great cohesiveness and people that really sacrifice for the team. So it's a great group.
Well, Coach, thank you for taking the time today. Good luck against Mount Mercy this weekend and then that final home push to have success and continued good results on the field. We won't call them positive results on the field, but good results on the field and no positive results off the field.
Right.
So
That's right.
Good luck to you and the ladies.
Thanks so much, Josh. Thanks, everybody.
Shakespeare once said, "Some are born great, and some have greatness thrust upon them. The rest of us," he said, "have to achieve greatness." We know exactly what he means. Be not afraid of greatness. Achieve it. Benedictine College, where greatness begins.
Welcome back inside the BRSN Insider. Josh Pound, now happy to be joined by men's soccer head coach John Sosa. And Coach, the squad coming off a draw in the most recent result on the midweek this week at Graceland. Just take us back through what it was like up there. The conditions, I'm sure, probably were less than favorable. Probably it's, the wind coming off of the lake there they've got right by the field. Not a lot of breeze or not a lot of windbreak. But how do you think the boys played? Statistically, it looked like the match was fairly even, but you guys have been able to string some success here as of late, but a draw was probably not the result that you went into the night looking for.
Yeah, Josh, it was actually a very, very good match for us. We started the game very strong, unlike some of the other games that we kind of started a little bit slower, and we found ourselves, finding a good rhythm nice and early, which allows us to, have the majority of the possession of the game throughout the game. And we did enough to earn a win. We did anything you can think of to come up with the win. And unfortunately, this is the one game of the year where, out of as many chances as we created, the ball just didn't go in, So we left, the game obviously not happy because we wanted to get the win, especially because we felt like we earned it. But we were happy with the performance overall. The guys looked better, the rhythm was better, we started earlier better, and we, in my opinion, obviously, I haven't had a chance to watch, the stats and whatnot, but I felt like we were the better team that night. So that gave us a little bit of tranquility, moving into the next game.
Well, before we move forward, we'll go back even a little bit. You had senior night a week, or at the beginning of the week, or senior afternoon, I guess we could say, since you guys were the only ones playing. And that was a situation where your opponent got on the board early, and then you guys kind of got on the board late in the half, and then that kind of swung the momentum back in your favor. What has been, what kind of things are you seeing the team adjust to? Is it just a matter of just continuing to knock on the door and eventually you're able to break it down, or is it just a matter of trying to figure out how to get them ready to go out of the gate? That's kind of been the difference in a successful result and maybe not a so successful result, is the other team scoring early and then having to play from behind. But on Saturday last week, you were able to overcome that.
Correct. So, that's kind of be the situation with us, right? We had games throughout the season where we started the game very well. And give me 1 second. We started the game very well where, we found rhythm and we still conceded a goal, right? So, for instance, the game against Grandview, we didn't start bad, but we gave a goal right away. But we showed character that game and we were able to come back with the rhythm, and we came up with a good win. Saturday was one of those weird games. It was a weird game because we started the game very strong, creating a handful of chances within the first 5 minutes of the game. And then as the game kept going and it was getting later and later, the guys started panicking. They started panicking because the ball wasn't going in. And the message from our staff is we just got to keep playing. Eventually it's going to come. With that being said, the game against Graceland on Tuesday was kind of the same situation, right? Where we were creating chances, we were playing well, we had the rhythm, and the ball just ended up not going in. They cleared a couple of balls off the baseline. There was a play where, Guillermo dribbled around the keeper, and with an empty goal, one of the defenders kind of slid and looked like he saved the ball with his arms. And we just didn't get a call. So it was just one of those games. But the message from our staff is basically we just got to keep playing, stick to the plan, continue with that same rhythm, and eventually we expect us to score goals. We have that kind of quality. So, we haven't had too many games where we haven't scored. If I'm not mistaken, I think there's only been 2 games where we haven't scored all season. You know what I mean? I think it was Central Methodist at home and Mid-America away that we couldn't score a goal. Other than that, we have scored in almost every game before Graceland. So we have that kind of quality. So yeah, it's I guess it's part of the game. And we're getting better at it. I mean, we're definitely getting better at it.
We're sitting here doing this interview, and we're inside the final week of the regular season, which seems almost weird at this point. But I mean, the season would be winding down in a normal year right about now anyway. But the program and you guys and your staff and players were dealt like the first curveball of the year was not much of a preseason as far as games. You were right out the bat. You start a conference game. The second curveball thrown at you became that they were going to delay the postseason a week to kind of give other teams. We've been very fortunate that we've not had anything on campus within our own programs that have delayed us from playing. And then the final curveball that kind of got thrown at you this last week was that not only now is the postseason delayed, it's delayed till April. So how has that, have you approached that subject with your guys about how important it is to finish strong, even though that momentum obviously is going to be very difficult to carry over to April, from finishing strong in the regular season? It's not going to be, it is officially not going to look like anything that they've ever experienced as collegiate soccer players.
Correct. It's one of those things, the way we approach it with we had a very good conversation with the team this week. And, back in the NCAA Division I, a lot of coaches are trying to fight towards, making it a full year season, right? Having some games in the fall, some games in the spring. And that's the way we're looking at it. We're looking at it as an opportunity to prolong the season longer, to make it longer. It might not look that way from a games perspective because we're still going to end up playing the same amount of games. But it will feel that way in terms of the amount of training we get and the amount of bonding that we have as a team, the amount of months that we're going to be able to stay together as a team. So we're looking at it as a positive at this point. We're blessed to be able to have a season to start off. We're blessed to be able to at least complete all our regular season games with conference. And then we're blessed to have the opportunity to hopefully, move, get into the playoffs. And then that way, we'll go back to the drawing board to start preparing for that. Right now, this is all, news, and we just have to adjust. It's a matter of adjusting and coming up with a good plan that fits the new reality. But we're looking forward to it, to say the least. And I know our seniors are kind of excited about that. We had a couple of guys who were contemplating graduating here in December. Now the talks with them is, does it make sense for them to come back for the spring season? It's one of those situations, but we're excited. We're looking forward to it. I'm excited to have the opportunity to make the season feel longer, to work, for a longer period of time. So yeah.
So finally, looking at the conference standings, as we talked about, one match left to go in the regular season. You're sitting a half game out from fourth place. How important would it be? Obviously, you win, and then the cards have to fall where they may. And you're going to need a little bit of help in order to jump into that fourth position, because the 4 losses at this point that you do have come against the 4 teams that are ahead of you in the conference standings. But how important would it be for you guys to take that positive momentum into the spring, knowing that, hey, we're going to get to host a game in the first round of this thing when it finally does happen in April?
It's very important. I mean, as much as I hate to admit, based on our stats, it looks like we're a better home team than we are playing away. I'm still trying to figure out why that is. But I can give you probably 100 different excuses of why that happens. I don't agree with any of those excuses, but it's just the reality of it. And I think it's the reality of a lot of programs that feel more comfortable playing at home, playing in front of their fans. So it will be crucial for us to do that. The way things look right now, if we were to finish, 5th and William Penn was to finish 4th, obviously we matched pretty well against them during the regular season. But their field does not fit our style of play because it's a grass field, it's a little bit slower, which fits what they're trying to do. They're a very direct, team that takes advantage of set pieces. But obviously, hey, this is all maybes, right? We have no idea what's gonna happen. I mean, just yesterday, Mid-America, who was in 3rd place and looked like they were gonna be comfortable staying there, went on to lose against Park University. So it's wide open. Anything could happen. All we got to do is make sure that we take care of ourselves. Obviously, looking back on Tuesday, with the great game that we had on Tuesday, if we would have gotten the win, it would have made things easier for us because right now we will be talking about something different. We could potentially be fighting for 3rd. But unfortunately, we didn't put the ball in the net, and that's just how this works. Now it's just a matter of, hey, let's take care of ourselves. The only thing we could do is go to Mount Mercy. They're a very strong, team. It's gonna be a very long trip for us, but we can take care of ourselves. We just have to make sure that we go perform the same way we perform on Tuesday, and hopefully that's enough for us to get a good win. And then hopefully, William Penn doesn't get a good result against Grandview, I believe, who they have left, and then just kind of go from there. But it's wide open. We have teams breathing behind us as well. You have Baker behind us. You have Grandview coming up as well, Park as well. So it's just our regular conference.
Well, and because the season has been kind of lengthened a little bit as far as the regular season conclusion, will be done on Saturday, but there's still going to be a number of programs that have left to finish what's left of their schedule. What does it look like for you and your team once you get back from Mount Mercy and you've had time to kind of let the season settle? What's the next step for you and you guys? Do you give them off some time to start focusing on, finishing the semester strong academically, or will you kind of keep them in a training session every couple of days until they leave for Thanksgiving break and we're done with in-person for the semester?
Correct. We came up with a good plan for the following 2 weeks, right? So the first 2 weeks of November, we're gonna have a good 4 days training per week. That allowed the guys to have, a midweek day off and also the whole weekend off. That's enough for them to obviously concentrate on school and whatnot. And then we'll do the same thing for the following week. And then obviously our last day of training is gonna be the 13th of November. So that would allow the guys to just kind of, concentrate in school, finish up the semester strong. And then once we have an idea what the spring is gonna look like, then we'll be able to complete what our plan should be. When do we start training? How often do we train? How many non-conference games are we going to be able to play before we go to playoffs? Are we allowed to play more conference games? I'm not sure, right? This is all unanswered questions. But yeah, it's the new reality. And again, I guess the way to look at it is we're very blessed to be able to even consider the fact that in the middle of this pandemic, we were able to play. Obviously, our program has been very fortunate to stay, to not have to deal with the virus too much per se. And, we didn't have to cancel any games ourselves. Obviously, we still have schools like Central Methodist, for instance, who, they're still missing half of their season, I believe. Right now we're looking at completing our last game on Saturday. So we're fortunate. We're blessed to be able to be in this situation. And again, we're finishing on our pick. And now the question is, how can we maintain that so that when we come back sometime in, January, we can pick it back off of that. So, but hey, we're fortunate.
All right. Well, thank you, John, for taking the time. Good luck as you guys continue training and look to finish that season off strong on Saturday with the trip up to Mount Mercy.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
A wise man once said, "The world offers you comfort, but you were not made for comfort. You were made for greatness." Discover what you were made for. Benedictine College, where greatness begins.
Well, it's time to talk some Raven football here in our final segment of the BRSN Insider. Josh Pound, joined by senior linebacker Brett Shepardson. And Brett, the team off to a 5-1 start, 2-0 in the Heart South, as things have got off to a little bit of a slow start in the sense that the very first game of the year was delayed because of COVID. But since then, things have gone pretty well for you and the team. Just take us back to Saturday's game. And the strong win, and another year and another safety for you on a sack against Central Methodist. So just take us back through the game and how you think it went for you guys and the team.
Hey, thanks for having me, Josh. The game on Saturday, it went really well. We started off really fast, especially on offense and defense, both sides of the ball. We had a few setbacks with Laskowski going down in the first, but, the defense stuck it out. We played strong throughout the entire game, as you see with the shutout. We knew we had a good game plan going into the week, and we just executed that, and things worked out for us pretty well. And we lifted the offense up. We say that it's not offense or defense, it's we-fence. So that's what we were kind of doing there. We never got down on ourselves. We just kept going.
Well, a couple of games this year, the defense has limited the rushing attack for the opponent. I think it was 12 yards on let me see. I got it right here. 12 yards on 26 carries. For a lot of defenses, that's a program record. But for Benedictine, that doesn't even probably register in like the top 10. So what's it been like? What has been the key this year? Why do you feel like the defense is playing so well so far here in the season?
You just said it, man. We have a really big goal of stopping the run. That way we have to make teams pass the ball, and we want to stop the run. Coach Gartenmeyer preaches that pretty heavily during practice every single week. If we stop the run, we know what we're going to get from him. We know we can get him in some 5-step situations and get after the quarterback. So that's what we do. First and second down, it's all about stopping the run and making sure we get him in the second and long, third and long situations that we're looking for.
Well, getting after the quarterback has been your forte so far this season, leading the NAIA in sacks per game. Reigning NAIA Defensive Player of the Week for your effort against Central Methodist on Saturday afternoon. So just take us through the anatomy of a sack for you. I was a strong safety back before, we went to these hybrid defenses where that position has gone by the way of the dodo bird. So I was never – if I was in the backfield, things were terribly wrong. So just take us through what it's like. What are some things you look for, or is it just – it's just a matter of being the right guy in the right place at the right time?
A lot of times that's what it is. I mean, we call up some stunts and whatnot to get, good looks for me and get some opportunities for me to get back there. But a lot of times it's just you against the tackle, and, so you just got to win your one-on-one battles getting back there. It starts on Monday with film. We look at the tackles and we kind of break down their personnel and see who we're going to be going against, what kind of moves we might want to work against these guys, stuff like that. But, really, when it comes down to it, it's just you one-on-one versus the other guy, and, work your move, keep going, be relentless. You're not going to get too many sacks usually at the beginning of the game. You got to wear them down, you get to feel them out, feel each tackle out, because each tackle is a little bit different. And then, just keep wearing them down and keep being relentless and getting after that quarterback. I love doing it, so, keep going.
Well, you talk about, looking at the tackle and figuring out what he does. Well, first thing you have to be looking at is you look at the two deep and see that, okay, this guy's got about 150, 200 pounds on me. What clicks in your brain to say, that's somebody I want to run at and beat? Most guys are going to run away from somebody that size, but you're going at them and you're attacking them.
Yeah, I mean, one of my strong suit when rushing is definitely my get off. So once I know that I can get those big guys backpedaling and get them in a situation where they're not as comfortable, their strength kind of gets taken away a little bit because they're on their back heels and they're kind of trying to bail out of there to get back to some depth so I don't just run around them. So then that kind of opens up a whole arsenal of other moves that you can work against them. And, it kind of negates their size a little bit so that they can't use that to their advantage. Because if one of those big guys that, like you said, are 100 pounds bigger, they get your hands, you're not going to have a good time.
So we're sitting here doing this interview, and you have the next game on the schedule is the MNU Pioneers in South Division play before coming home to wrap up the regular season with 2 games at home. what are you guys looking at? What are some things that you're going to need to do against MNU to have a successful Saturday?
Just the same things we've been doing. We definitely got to stop the run. They have a pretty lethal offense. We got to respect our opponent there and make sure we stop the run. And then they got a good passing game. They have some really good skill players out there. So we just keep dialing up the pressure, make sure we can get rid of their opportunities to get it out and get the ball into those guys' hands. They run a lot of RPOs, so we've been preparing for that and stuff like that. But yeah, just stopping their offense. I know we still got some things to figure out on the offensive side, so we're just going to keep lifting them up and play strong defense while they get that figured out.
Well, and finally here, as one of the team leaders, team captains this year for the squad, it's been a unique year. It's been a weird year. Obviously, the big thing that everybody's first opponent was COVID. Then you move on to dealing with the players and the teams that are on the schedule. What has it been like for you and the guys to navigate through this? Obviously, we've been pretty fortunate as far as once the season got going, we've been able to kind of avoid getting bitten by an outbreak within the program. We look and just saw an email yesterday. Culver Stockton has not played a game since they played us. They've been unfortunate either for one reason or another. Things haven't worked out for. But how's it been navigating through such a weird time and being able to balance a sense of normalcy when you guys are out there practicing and playing, but then the big thing kind of in the back of your mind is that, hey, we're doing this in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, definitely has been a strange year. That's for sure. You feel bad for those guys that like at Culver Stockton. I know those guys have been working their butts off, and to not get to play is kind of a bummer. I'm really thankful that we've been able to play our games, but I think our team as a whole, we have a really good positive attitude when we come to practice. Just stay positive, do what you have to do. Wearing a mask sucks. Socially distance sucks. Like we'd love to be together and talking all the time and, just having fun out there. We're pretty good about that. Just, staying positive, doing what you have to do and just getting through it and, having fun playing some football, be thankful for every opportunity we have out there because you never know when it's going to be your last with this COVID stuff going on. So that's we just stay positive as we can.
All right. Well, that positivity, that explains a lot to the success we're having this year. It's all about the right mindset, and clearly you guys have it and have been fortunate to work your way through this season. So good luck as you get ready to take on MNU. We'll see you back here on campus in a week as you take on those Wildcats, but we won't talk about those because obviously the attention right now is on the Pioneers. But Brett, thank you for taking the time. We appreciate it, and good luck this weekend.
Yeah. Thanks, Josh.